In the previous tutorial, we have looked at how we can access individual elements within an array, but there is something that I noted that we did not look at. We did not look at how to access the elements within these arrays and objects that we have within this array. So for that reason, let's start by looking at how we can access those values, and we are going to start with the array that we already have. So this is the array, and I want us to see how we can access these values, the values within this array that is within this array. So to access this value, now as you can see, we have been using this method. We are able to access the array itself. So all that we need now is another square bracket here, and now, like we have done in the previous case, the first element in this case is also index 0. The second one as 1, 0, 1, 2, 3. So if we want to access the first element within the array, then we would now include the next square bracket and save the changes. Using that method, we have now been able to access this element. If we were to go to the next one, then that is 1, then save the changes, then you can see that we are able to access these 3. Or if we just add 4 there to be 34 to save the changes, and so that we can notice the difference, so that we don't confuse this one, because these numbers are relatively almost the same. But for that reason, we can change this one to see the changes. So if we want to access the third one, then we would do the same. We'll simply change that value and have that. Now we are able to access this value. So to access the values within the object, then we would simply change our 5, because let me first delete this one to demonstrate that now we are accessing the object. As you can see, now we are accessing the object here, and we can see the values. Now we want to access the individual element. For example, if we want to access the name, then we would apply the dot method that is applicable to the object. So the dot name, and save the changes. So now we are able to access the name. So notice the difference here, because in the previous case we used the square bracket because we were accessing elements within an array. So this array, this is the one that I'm talking about. But now we want to access elements within an object. So we use the dot method to access the element that we want to access. So we can as well access the edge. So we add a dot edge and save the changes. And now as you can see, we are now able to access the edge of this person. So this is how you access values within different elements and within different values within an array, based on how they are combined or nested. So let's now proceed and look at how we can add, or we can change or even overwrite values. Remember, in this tutorial, our focus is to understand more about arrays. And for that reason, I want us to look at what are the different methods and the different properties of an array, to understand how we can make better use of the arrays in JavaScript. For that reason, let's go back a bit to console log the array itself, and to overwrite values within an array, we can basically reassign them. For instance, in this case, we can reassign the first element, which in this case is 1, we can overwrite this value by indicating that we now want this element to be equal to, maybe let's give it a 7 and save the changes, and we are console logging the array to see the changes here. So let's save the changes. As you can see now, we have managed to overwrite this value with a new value 7 in this case. We can as well overwrite other values. Array. Maybe in this case we can overwrite the array, this one that we have, the array that we have within the array. So our index is 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So in this case 4, we can say that it is now equal to 100, and we save the changes. As you can see now, we have been able to remove or to basically to overwrite the array with 100. This is how you can overwrite values within the array, and you can do much more about it. But let's just leave the array the way it was before by removing those changes that we have made. And now let us look at the different methods that we can use to change values, or even to the different methods that we can apply to this method, to this array that is. So first, we may want to add a value. Instead of overwriting values, we may want to add values. And in this case, we can use the push method, the push method, to add a value to the end of this array that we already have. So in this case, maybe I can add 100, and or even let me add 100 and save the changes. Now you can see that we have managed to push and this value, that is 100, to the end of the array. This is where we have pushed this value. That is to mean that when you push an element to an array, you add it to the end of that array. This is one of the methods that you are likely to use most of the time when you want to add values to an array. Maybe you start with an empty array and then you want to push values into that array. This push method will be very good at that task, and for that reason you need to understand how it is implemented in JavaScript. If we want to add the value to the as the first element here, then we can use the unshift method. That is the unshift, and instead of push, and save the changes. This is how you would add a value as the first one, in this case using the unshift method. Thank you for watching, and please remember to like the video.